If you are a Pokemon fan, you are no doubt familiar with Sun and Moon's iconic Ultra Beasts, a classification of extra-dimensional, super powerful Pokemon. I have always been fascinated by these guys and their fearsome designs, unlike anything else in the Pokemon franchise. So that's why this Halloween season I challenged my viewers to draw new Ultra Beast Fakemon of their own, to add to this frightening category of Mon. To help, I provided 4 different prompts. Viewers could decide whether they wanted to come up with an Ultra Beast inspired by the prompt UB Static, UB Haunt, UB Marine, or UB Cosmic. Check out the prior videos for Static, Haunt, and Cosmic if you haven't already. In this final video, we'll be going through all the Marine entries so I can lend my reactions, critiques, and thoughts on more than a dozen or so very impressive Ultra Beast submissions that could hail from the deep sea. I'll be going through all submissions in no particular order, save for the last one, which was my favorite and will be introduced with a short analog horror style story that I wrote based off of the Fakemon's information provided by the artist. And if you're new here, my name is Tam and I run art challenges like this every few months. Whether you are a beginner or seasoned artist and you would like to take part in a prompt-based art challenge, possibly get paired up with another partner for multi-step challenges, and of course, get your art featured on my channel in an upcoming video, well, go join my Discord down below to get started. And please make sure to stay tuned until the end of this video, where I will be introducing and sharing details about a brand new art challenge that celebrates the release of Pokemon Legends ZA. But without further ado, let's get into your nautical-themed Ultra Beasts. First up is Nudradanch by the artist Espirito. This is exactly what I expected from this challenge, a deep-sea creature that uses bioluminescence to light up its surroundings and lure in prey in some impossibly deep ocean homeworld. It definitely looks like a hybrid of something completely alien and also something more familiar to our own world, since it looks to be inspired dually by nudibranch sea slugs and eels. I also like how the artist made the eye on this UB a lot smaller than you would typically see on a real Pokemon. To me, this is a very subtle detail that effectively makes the scale of this Pokemon seem a lot larger, since the body is huge in comparison to small facial details. I could definitely see this guy being truly huge, a real awe to encounter out in the ocean. Next up is Mechabysmal by Icy Sunset, a really neat steampunk-inspired Pokemon, almost the other end of the spectrum from the last one in terms of looking biological and natural. This one is said to contain a lot of fish-like creatures on the inside, who may be controlling the outer shell, so it's left ambiguous as to whether it is truly artificial, like a machine, or just resembles metallic technology from our world. It could go either way, considering the windows on the body can look like a face and a mouth to some extent. Like I said in a prior video, I like when Ultra Beasts resemble technology from our world, like Celesteela resembling Rocket, or Kartana looking like both swords and origami. Also, in the spirit of this challenge, it's nice to draw upon real-world fears. In this guy's case, submechanophobia, or the fear that some people have of machinery that's submerged in water, especially when it is worn down and rusty. Filterpent by Martin Brzezowski also absolutely plays into those same fears. I mean, imagine swimming up into the ocean and getting sucked in by this guy's mechanical filter mouth. This one obviously is based off of eels or sea snakes again, as well as animals like whales that filter feed for smaller prey. It also straddles the border between the artificial and the biological. To reference another horror movie, it reminds me of the movie Nope, where it evokes the queasiness of possibly getting swallowed up by this massive, incomprehensible machine-like beast that's just trying to feed itself. I like how this one has a less discernible face too, to really place your focus on the unique filter mouth. Yet another sea snake or eel here with Ribisol by Cryptic Draws, a Pokemon that I think definitely nails the proportions, details, line work, and colors of earlier Pokemon generations flawlessly. Love the simplicity of the black body and the piercing green eyes. Definitely evokes that deep sea feeling. I could see this one as either an Ultra Beast or perhaps the middle stage to a pseudo-legendary evolution line. Now, Bissistalt by Solely Guacamole goes in a completely different direction, giving us this UB that is apparently based off of the invasive zebra mussel in real life, a mollusk that attaches to various other organisms and prevents them from moving or eating. It's apparently a really big problem in various marine ecosystems. I had no idea. This UB has the same behavior as that, apparently attacking weaker members of its own species and bringing them into its own consciousness, almost like a hive mind. That's why it has so many body segments that look identical. Very clever way of incorporating real-world animal behavior and playing into another horror or sci-fi trope. in this case the fear of assimilation by some alien force, which, like in the last video, I compared to the Borg from Star Trek as one prominent example. It's also nice to get a good sense of this Pokemon's powers and behaviors to balance out such an abstract design. Yukilaga is another fantastic design from Turquoise, obviously based on algae. Love the balance here with a very recognizable individual feature, like stems and branches of algae leaves, but forming a more abstract overall body without discernible limbs or a face. It's cool because it plays into that word I keep coming back to, uncanny, that a lot of real Ultra Beasts nail, where you can stare at the design for a really long time and find both familiar and unfamiliar things within it. I also like how the more gentle leaves look menacing thanks to the red tips, kind of alluding to poison. I guess it triggers the same evolutionary instinct that tells us to stay away from poisonous animals like dart frogs. Oflumine by KSCH is a very complex design inspired by clams, stained glass, and incense burners, a very wild mix of concepts that comes together nicely from a visual standpoint. I enjoy how I can still read features with how abstract it is biologically, like the main glassy star in the middle looking like a central eye, two clams reading his hands, and overall just some sort of godly angelic being sitting on a throne. A lot of aura behind this design, and I would love to know why the artist chose all these elements to come together. Hyastaflome is our next submission from the artist Smug Kiwi. The UB that, as you can see from the angle it's depicted in the artwork, attacks prey from above, floating in the deep sea, luring them swimming up into its central mouth thanks to its bioluminescent dots on its limbs. This one is obviously inspired by starfish, which to be honest are animals that do freak me out a little in real life, what with their weird mouths and regeneration abilities, so a good choice to translate into an Ultra Beast. Kinda crazy how many Ultra Beasts are based around one majorly deviating body feature to separate themselves from standard Pokemon, like a lack of a head, extreme muscles, or a mouth on the belly, in the case of both Guzzlord and now this guy. But this one is based off of a real animal that actually does have that anatomical weirdness. That's why I knew asking all of you to draw from marine creatures would be a really fitting prompt for new Ultra Beasts. In a similar vein, Phytophony by Potato is an Ultra Beast inspired by sea angels, the same type of real-life sea slug that Manaphy and Phione are based on. Like them, this Ultra Beast is said by the artist to have a gentler disposition than most, bonding with people in the same way that Poipole does. However, the artist separated this UB from those two by giving this guy a more transparent body, which many sea slugs do have, and works great for that alien, uncanny look. Cool that we are looking into this Pokemon to see its organs, especially since they glow, giving this Pokemon the same bioluminescent lure effect that many of the earlier entries from today had. Uncanny Whale is our next entry, a very unsettling design from EXO. This whale-like Pokemon was said to one day appear near AI data centers, and it emits generated vocalizations that resemble human speech. The connection between AI and whales eludes me, to be honest, but I can definitely buy into the uncanny feeling of this Pokemon, especially because it has a shark fin and a human hand for a tail. Kinda like this thing is poorly imitating life from our world in some kind of jumbled mess. Hey, kinda like AI. I think the artist took a bold swing here, making a Pokemon that is flesh-colored like that. Definitely makes my skin crawl, but I don't mind it that much. I can always appreciate Ultra Beasts that are a lot more biological looking compared to some of the more mechanical, segmented looking ones. Constrol is our very next UB from artist Chaplin, another one playing on that fear of mind control and domination. In this case, based on those real-life parasites that attach to the tongues of various fish to take them over. For this UB, it expands on that a little, with the actual UB being a tongue-like creature who is just inhabiting some other conch shell organism, tying itself into a knot to prevent the parasitic control it exerts from being severed. I am always a huge sucker for Ultra Beasts without conventional faces, but still recognizable facial features, if that makes sense. So I do like the focal point here that's the mouth the Pokemon lives in, but the actual tongue-like creature doesn't have an obvious face of its own. Very alien, and a very realistically creepy one, given that there are probably thousands of parasites already living in our own world. Nautile from the artist Fakemon is simply insane. This Pokemon is said to use its golden mask-like face to enhance vibrational noises, kinda like a whale, to disorient foes. The numerous various features here, like peacock feathers, lion claws, snake-like tongues, and a metallic face and tail, are just proof of the artist committing to just going full throttle with this guy. A very maximalist design that still feels intelligently put together and not cluttered or edgy for the sake of it. It's perhaps a little too detailed in execution for a believable Pokemon, like the exact number of feathers could be lessened, but the colors, proportions, and even concepts, just being a chimera of various animals, could definitely work as an Ultra Beast, or even a legendary Pokemon. It's just mesmerizing to look at. Athalobe from the artist Dodo is very cool, returning to a more artificial inspiration that kinda reminds me of a deep-sea hybrid of Blacephalon and Stakataka. I assume this guy is based off of naval mines that float out in the sea, kinda like Quillfish, but the artist did an excellent job of conveying a sense of scale here. I enjoy this guy's proportions, especially because I can tell the artist was very thoughtful in considering how the anatomy of this Pokemon would influence its proportions. Considering it floats in water, I like how thin the leg tethers are at the base of its sphere here, since it wouldn't need sturdy legs to hold itself up. Then the feet are these massive anchors that weigh it down as it trawls along the ocean floor. Gives a great sense of both scale and realism to this design, which has a very memorable silhouette, something that I think is essential for a good Pokemon design, to be honest. Squarish by Holy Crazy 100 is another smaller design, almost looking like a miniature deep-sea diver with a big goggle-like face and these trident-like tentacles. Once again, this simple design has elements that I enjoy from Ultra Beast design philosophy, like the resemblance to real-world technology. In this case, it looks like a floating, discarded diving mask in the sea. It's also cool to play up the uncanniness with the contrast between free-flowing tentacles and something sharp and rigid like needles or trident, which it has on the end of its limbs. Now take a shot every time I say the word uncanny in this video. Magmant by Nair was an unexpected submission for this video, but it totally makes sense given its nature as a UB that lives in deep sea trenches. Anything that's a dual water-fire type is a win in my book. I think this guy could be a tad more abstract to look like a UB in lieu of a regular Pokemon though. Like maybe the pupils in the eyes or what's coating it is a bit too familiar for me, but it's a very solid design nonetheless, and one that I would enjoy using if it was a regular Pokemon. Catchalark is another very cool, artificial looking UB from artist Febbleking Max G, looking like a sunken shipwreck and a whale all at once. Clever how the split open middle portion looks like a giant gaping mouth, almost like a whale shark, grouper fish, or other deep sea animal that filter feeds like that. Once again, playing into that fear of getting swallowed whole. And with that, once again, I will be telling a short story to celebrate and introduce my favorite submission of the day, just like I did the winning entries in the other 3 videos in this art challenge series.
We departed Hobary Port Galler with clear skies and steady wind. Cargo is secure. Dried apricorns and medicine destined for Lily Cove Hoenn. The crew cheerful at first. Many sing as they work the rigging. One item of note, the compass needle lay unsettled at dusk, twitching as though drunk. I blame the dense fog, though it sets me uneasy. A fair day. The sea is like glass, no swells to speak of. One sailor swears he heard his name said from below deck, though none stood near. He left it off, but I saw the colour leave his face. We jested it must be the wind echoing in the beams, yet no wind stirred. The breeze has fallen away. 2 days without a puff. The sails hang limp as rags, though the air presses hot and thick upon us. Men grow restless. Dice games turn to quarrels, quarrels to blows. I speak sternly to keep them in line, but it feels as though some unseen weight sits upon every heart. The sea moves strangely, not in waves but in heaves, like the chests of some sleeping giant. Barrels knock against each other as if nudged from beneath. At dawn we found a Wingull sprawled dead upon the deck, stiff and salt-stained. We have not glimpsed land in days. A murmur runs through the crew. Several complain of headaches, of dreams that whisper into their ears. One swore he heard his own voice beckoning him into the sea. Another, his dead father. I find the men at the rails at odd hours, staring into the deep as though it called their names. The men grow gaunt, hollow-eyed. None will descend into the hold. They say something groans there beneath the keel, shaking the timbers with each sigh. One deckhand begged me to turn the ship about back to port. Steadfast, I refused. He dropped to his knees, clawing at his scalp as though to tear the sound from his mind. From the quarterdeck, I spied shapes coiling beneath the surface. Not melodic, not whale-old. Fast and sinuous, tentacles thick as masts, draped in strands of weed that clung like flesh. They circled, never surfacing fully, but always just beneath. The sea itself seemed to watch us. I forbade the man from casting any lines. We are plagued by silence. No Pelopus soul, no Felusa swim beside us. Even the ocean seems to hush. At dusk, one sailor, Jacobs, broke into shrieking laughter. He clawed the rail and shouted into the sea, "Enough! Show yourself! Release me from your grip!" The others tried to silence him, but I fear his cry was heard. The water swelled without warning, rising in a dome about the ship. Then it split. From the black rose a form beyond reckoning, a colossus clad in dripping seaweed, eyes burning green, tentacles writhing like the arms of some drowned god. The men froze, struck dumb by terror or by its gaze. It came upon us in a tempest. The sky blackened while the storm brewed. Tentacles smashed down upon the deck, splintering wood, dragging man screaming into the abyss. The creature's voice rang not in our ears, but in our skulls, cruel laughter echoing through every thought. I saw Jacob seized, his body vanishing beneath coils of weed and arm. I saw the helmsman, plucked from the wheel, dashed against a mast like driftwood. The ship broke apart as though struck by Titan's hand. I clung to wreckage, helpless, as a beast pulled the remainder of my crew into the deep. Adrift alone upon a shard of timber, the storm abated as swiftly as it has risen. The ocean lies calm, as though nothing had happened. I drift now, wherever the current takes me. My mind is raw, scraped clean by its laughter. God preserve me, though I doubt he listens here. May no man see its like again. I write its name as it comes to me. Mentalash.
And here's my favorite UB Marine submission, Mentalash from the artist Anja Art. Not only is this just a flawless rendering in the Pokemon style, taking contrasting elements like glowing tentacles, seaweed-wrapped limbs, and horns on the head, and simplifying them into something believable and cohesive for a Pokemon design, but it also looks like textbook Eldritch horror made real. I've always wanted a Cthulhu or Kraken-inspired Pokemon, and if one existed, I'd want it to look just like this. I don't even have that much to add, it's just a rock-solid design. Everything it made me feel, its psychic torment powers, its emergence from the deep sea, its legendary status among sailors, was exactly what I tried to capture in that story that I told. So thank you Anja Art for letting me collaborate creatively with you in that way. And thank you to all the artists who submitted Ultra Beasts for today's prompt. And for the other 3 videos, which again, I really recommend checking out if you haven't already. Also, special thanks to Auka for narrating today's short story. He's a friend of mine and the channel's, and his channel is linked right down below. Before we wrap up, now that all the Ultra Beast videos are out, I am so excited to finally introduce the next community art challenge. This time, we're shifting gears to the beloved gimmick that was brought back into our lives with Legends ZA, because for November, we are drawing Mega Evolutions. This one's a twist on the usual solo challenge. This is a paired collaborative format, designed to mix ideas and push you creatively. So if you're interested as a beginner or an experienced artist, here's what to do. Everyone will choose a fully evolved Pokemon that has never had a Mega before now that we have the final count from Legends ZA. So nothing that already has a Mega, no Legendaries, no Mythicals, and post their pick as a text post in the Art Challenge channel by November 5th. Then I will randomly pair everyone up, and you'll draw a Mega Evolution for your partner's Pokemon, not your own. And here's where it gets even more fun. If you decide to give your Mega a new type, it has to be one of your partner Pokemon's types. So if you pick Toxapex and your partner picks Mandibuzz, your Mega Mandibuzz that you're drawing could gain Water or Poison as a secondary type to replace one of Flying or Dark if you want. It's a restriction that still leaves you with a lot of room for creativity, a maximum of 4 or 5 different types, and gives you clarity on a concept, hopefully. Now you'll have until November 21st to finish that mega drawing, and I will be featuring the highlights in a showcase video at the end of November. So if you're interested, I highly suggest everyone take part, whether you are an experienced or a novice artist. To do that, just join my Discord with the link right down below, where the rules are now posted and you can submit your mega pick as soon as today. Again, you have until November 5th to do that, so act quick. Once again, thank you to the over 3 dozen artists who took part in this month's Ultra Beast Art Challenge. I hope to see even more of you participate next month for the Mega one, and thanks to all patrons, especially Guardian patron KuroBlitz. I'll see you next time for more content, and happy Halloween!